In exactly 100 days, nearly 1 million people were murdered. Not in a war, not on a battlefield, in their homes, in their churches, in their schools, by their neighbors. The world watched. The world did nothing. This is the story of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, and why it is more relevant today than you think. Rwanda. 1994, a small country in the heart of Africa, barely the size of Maryland. A country of green hills and close communities. A country where Hutu and Tutsi had lived side by side for generations, farming the same land, attending the same churches, marrying each other's children. But beneath the surface, a poison had been growing for decades. It was planted by Belgian colonists who took over Rwanda in the early 20th century. They looked at the population and decided to divide people, to classify them, stamp their identity cards, and put one group above the other. Tutsi were declared that superior race. Hutu were told they were inferior. A distinction that had once been fluid, based on cattle ownership, not blood, became fixed, legal, and lethal. That is the first lesson of Rwanda. Genocide is always built on a lie. The lie that one group of humans is better or more dangerous than another. By the 1990s, that lie had been repeated so many times it felt like truth to many Rwandans. Radio stations, especially Radio Mille Collines, called Tutsi Inyenzi cockroaches. They broadcast names, addresses, hiding places. They turned neighbors into targets. April 6, 1994. President Habyarimana's plane is shot down over Kigali. Within hours, roadblocks appear across the country. Lists of Tutsi names are produced. Soldiers and militia members called the Interhamwe begin moving house to house. This was not spontaneous. This was planned. The killing lists existed before the plane went down. The machetes had been imported in bulk months earlier. The language of hate had been broadcast for years. Genocide is never sudden. It is always organized. And it always begins long before the killing starts. This was not spontaneous. What followed was among the most intense episodes of mass killing in human history. Tutsi fled to churches, believing God's house would protect them. It did not. They were massacred in the pews. Schools became killing grounds. The bodies of children were thrown into rivers. Families were separated at roadblocks. Tutsi pulled out. Hutu waved through. By July 1994, between 800,000 and 1 million people were dead. 2/3 of Rwanda's Tutsi population gone. In 100 days. Meanwhile, in New York, in Washington, in Brussels, governments debated, sent memos, pulled their peacekeepers out rather than reinforce them. The United States government instructed its officials not to use the word genocide because, legally, that would require them to act. Think about that. The word was avoided, so the obligation could be avoided. Romeo Dallaire, the UN commander on the ground in Rwanda, begged for permission to act. He was denied. He later wrote, "We could have saved hundreds of thousands of lives." He was right. And the world's refusal to act is a wound that is never fully healed. Rwanda was not alone in being abandoned. Think about what was happening in the world in 1994. The Berlin Wall had fallen 5 years earlier. The Cold War was over. Leaders spoke of a new world order. One where human rights would be protected globally. The UN Charter existed. The Genocide Convention, signed in 1948 after the Holocaust, existed. The words, "never again," had been spoken for decades. And yet, nothing. Because, never again, without action is just a slogan. And in 1994, it was just a slogan. The question is, have we learned? Because right now, today, there are places in this world where the same warning signs are flashing. And the same silence is threatening to repeat itself. Lean in here. In Sudan, right now, families are fleeing burning villages in Darfur. The RSF militia, successors to the same Janjaweed that committed genocide in 2003, are targeting black African communities again. Over 8 million people have been displaced. Famine has arrived. The world calls it a crisis. Activists call it what it is: ethnic cleansing. In Gaza, tens of thousands of civilians, among them thousands of children, have been killed since October 2023. The humanitarian catastrophe is undeniable, even as its legal and political definition is fiercely debated in international courts. What is not debatable: children are dying, and the world is struggling to agree on what to do. In Myanmar, 1 million Rohingya Muslims remain in exile in Bangladesh, unable to return to a country that calls itself their home but has stripped them of citizenship, burned their villages, and, according to the United Nations, subjected them to genocide. In Ethiopia, in Yemen, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, mass violence, targeting of civilians, deliberate starvation, rape used as a weapon of war. All happening right now. All happening while we scroll. I am not telling you this to make you feel hopeless. I am telling you this because awareness is the first step. And because every single one of these crises, every single one, escalated while the world looked away. But I also need to tell you what happened after. Because Rwanda's story does not end in 1994. From the ashes of one of the worst atrocities in modern history, Rwandans chose, collectively, painfully, imperfectly, to rebuild. The Gacaca courts brought perpetrators face to face with survivors in community hearings across the country. People who had lost everything sat across from people who had taken everything. And in many cases, not all, but many, truth was spoken. Accountability was faced. And something that looks like reconciliation, fragile, ongoing reconciliation, began. Today Rwanda has the highest percentage of women in its parliament of any country in the world. Its economy is one of Africa's fastest growing. Kigali is one of the cleanest, safest cities on the continent. The Genocide Memorial in Kigali receives hundreds of thousands of visitors each year, not as a monument to victimhood, but as a commitment. This will never happen again here. It did not happen by accident. It happened because Rwandans decided that the future mattered more than the revenge. That is not weakness. That is the hardest, most radical thing human beings can do. Respect, not pity. This is the turn toward hope. Genocide does not appear from nowhere. Scholars and survivors have identified the stages, and they are not mysterious. They are recognizable. It starts with classification, dividing people into us and them. Then symbolization, labeling, naming, marking, then dehumanization, when propaganda starts calling people animals, vermin, invaders, cockroaches. Then organization, militias, weapons, lists. Then comes persecution. Then mass killing. These stages happen on a scale. You can intervene at any point. So when you hear political leaders calling immigrants vermin, when you see propaganda portraying a religion as inherently violent, when you watch a government strip a group of legal rights, one law at a time, do not say it could never happen here. Rwanda's Tutsi did not believe it could happen there either. History does not repeat itself automatically. It repeats because people choose to look away. April 7th is the International Day of Reflection on the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. But reflection without action is hollow. So here is what I am asking you to do. Share this video. Not for views, for the person in your life who has never heard of Gacaca courts or the Intrahamwe, or Romeo Dallaire. For the young person who thinks genocide is just history. Learn the warning signs, and when you see them, in your country, in your community, in your newsfeed, name them out loud. Support the organizations on the ground. UNHCR for refugees. Never Again Rwanda. Fortify Rights. Human Rights Watch. The links are below. You are an ordinary person. So am I. That is exactly enough. If this video moved you, please share it. And if you want to go deeper, I have linked everything, books, documentaries, survivor accounts, in the description below. Thank you for watching, and for caring enough to stay until the end.